guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to video number 16. I'm Kekasha. And today we have with us the overachiever and yet a very approachable person, Rupali Sachdev. Guys, अगर तुम्हें नहीं पता है तो let me introduce her. But मुझे लगता है कि सबको पता ही होगा. Like she's a huge hit on YouTube. She's also working as a SHO, FY2 level doctor in emergency medicine in Royal Liverpool Hospital, which is one of the NHS trust hospitals in Liverpool, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Uske alawa, she is very active in when it comes to audits, when it comes to arranging mocks for people. So she is basically your person if you want to get into NHS. Yeah, to make किसी interview के लिए prepare करना है. So yeah, go stalk her on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Thank you. That's a really generous
Anything else?
introduction. Everything that Kekasha said, and I think I can summarize that as I like to help people. So if you need help,
Oh,
get in touch.
how nice. Cool. So basically, in this video, we'll be talking about life as a junior doctor in the NHS. How it is like to adjust from India or from to a totally different country, UK, how's life, and how to be more active, I guess, in general. So let's just start with the questions, okay?
Sure.
Cool.
Go ahead.
All right. So first of all, my viewers would really like to know as to how to get a job in emergency medicine in the NHS. Like, what did you do?
So for me, I think I'm more of the exception than the rule, because for me, the pathway has been very ideal. When someone tells you the PLAB pathway, that's exactly how it's gone for me, because I gave my IELTS in internship, then I gave my PLAB 1 and PLAB 2 while I was working as a casualty medical officer. And then I came to the UK for my, when I came to the UK for my PLAB 2, I was applying for attachments. And I had a couple of options. So then I chose Liverpool. I chose A&E because that's something I was interested in and I had experience in. And uske baad, there were, luckily enough, so a lot of it I think has to do with good timing and good people around me. So jab main wahan thi, when I did my, I'll tell you the timeline. So I did my PLAB, I came to the UK in April. My PLAB 2 was scheduled in May and my attachment was in June. And June, May, the jobs were opening because the intake for training starts in August. So they start opening non-training jobs in May, June, July. So this is like the golden period to apply. And luckily I was in the department. And with me was a couple, like Liverpool's a very in demand city for attachments and jobs. So मेरे साथ बहुत सारे attachees थे. I think at one point there were like 5 or 6 of us in A&E. And the girl who started with me, she had been looking for jobs for a while. So she was more in that I need to find a job, because for everyone who's watching, they know it gets more and more frustrating when you start getting rejections. That constant stream of rejections in your inbox is the worst thing ever. So she was more determined, and she would actively go and ask consultants कि आप क्या देखते हो applications में, हमें तो वही नहीं समझ आ रहा कि like we are writing what we think is supposed to be written, but we don't understand why we're not getting shortlisted or why we're not making it through interviews. So what are you looking for? So ये basically recce किया था हमने in A&E, where she would go along and ask people what to do, and I would just be with her because I was, to be very honest, I was very chill. मैंने अभी just PLAB 2 दिया था, so I wasn't in the need to apply for jobs mode because I didn't even have registration then. So it was, we got my PLAB 2 results in the middle of my attachment and I got cake for everyone because I was so happy. Yeah. So that's how it worked for me. The attachment happened, then jobs opened. I applied, and in most NHS trusts, if you've done an attachment in that trust, they'll tend to give you preference. Not because you're superior as compared to the rest of the applicants, but because you just understand the department. So it's an easier transition for you and for them. Rather than starting from scratch. So आपको थोड़ी preference मिलती है. For example, out of all the people who joined with me, I think out of the new joinees, 50% were attachees. So that shows you the importance of doing a good attachment at the right time. And so that's the attachment. I applied and then I interviewed for the job in June first week. And by June mid, I had my offer. June end, I had my COS. So, like, it has, and the thing is, pre-employment, I intentionally, a lot of people apply for like super priority visa and badi jaldi jaldi unko aana hota hai. And I was like, I have just come back. I want to spend some time with like my friends and family because it's a very big move. तो आपको इतनी फटाफट फटाफट सब करना होता
Exactly.
है कि I was like,
Yeah.
I need time to breathe. So I didn't hurry it along. So I took my time, and then I came to the UK in September. I
So
had my birthday here, and then I started working in November. So yeah, I've been working for 3 months, and
cool.
I think the way to get jobs is a lot of factors are involved. It can be your attachment, it can be your wonderful applications that you've written, it can be when you've applied. So people told me if you're on top of the applications list, if you apply immediately, you get picked up more. I don't
Mm.
understand how that works, but it does. The
Right.
language in your applications is very important because how the recruitment works is पहले HR बैठा होता है. They just sit with the list कि ये person specification है, ये essential है, ये desired है, and आपकी application बाजू में पड़ी होगी. They will cross and they will tick it off. अगर वो words
Mm.
match नहीं हो रहे, अगर आपने लिखा है I take history, I do examination, the HR doesn't care. They see clerking, they match clerking, they will give you a point. So that's how that's how you have to figure out how to make your application go through the HR first.
Right.
And फिर उसके बाद the registrars and the consultants are involved where they go through applications. So then if you use medical terms, it will make sense to them. But the first beast to get through is the HR. Then comes the interview. Interview is mostly for them to get to know you, who you are as a person, if you're a good fit for the department, and if you have the clinical knowledge. All of these are covered in the interview. So you nowadays interviews are a lot shorter because बहुत ज़्यादा applications हो गई हैं. For each job there are like 1,000+ applications minimum. So interviews are very short and very quick. But ideally they want to know who you are. They'll give you a case to discuss how will you make your plan of management and an ethical scenario. So that's
Mm.
basically how I landed my job. But for most people, I think it takes 6 months on average to land a good job that they like.
Right. So yeah, exactly. When it comes to jobs, we've been lucky कि हमें बहुत ज़्यादा ODL पे what was it? NHS track jobs या इन सब जगहों पे बहुत
NHS.
application नहीं डालने पड़े थे. But I guess in a summary, it's like there's no one way to get a job. I mean, of course, track jobs और ये सारे एक way है
Yeah.
where you keep on applying और ये basically सबके लिए मतलब ऐसे कोई आप stand out नहीं करते because सबका application almost same
Yeah.
है. And again, बस person
Definitely.
specification देके वो आपको ले रहे हैं. You need a lot of luck to be honest to get through all the process or like all the steps or फिर आप finally land a job. The easiest way I would say it worked for me, it worked for Rupali was basically through clinical attachments and another one for me. So I got jobs through NHS tag jobs. But मुझे एक better opportunity मिली to work in Birmingham and that was through mails. So basically I was sending random mails for clinical attachments to people and somehow it got shortlisted for the interview and मुझे एक दिन random mail आया कि अच्छा you're shortlisted for the interview तो मतलब आप आके interview दे दो. And I was like but clinical attachment के लिए कौन सा interview होता है? And I sat for the interview and it was basically for a job position and it was an FY3 and I was like okay cool so this is nice. So ऐसी चीजें होती हैं but you have to realize कि एक कोई एक particular set तरीका नहीं होता. आप बस जितना active हो सकते हो उतना active हो. आप अगर clinical attachment कर रहे हो so like टेल पीपल कि हाँ भाई मुझे आई एम लुकिंग फॉर अ जॉब या मेरा रजिस्ट्रेशन होने वाला है और अगर आपके पास कुछ है तो लाइक मैं आई कैन इफ आई कैन सेट फॉर द इंटरव्यू या अगर आप कुछ मुझे बता सकें कि कौन सा जॉब पोजीशन अवेलेबल है कहीं पे या मैं अपने सीवी को कैसे स्ट्रांग बना सकता हूँ बेसिकली जस्ट टॉक टू पीपल दैट्स ऑल आई वुड से
Solid
या
advice. I would agree. 10 out of 10. Talk to and पता है सब ना पागलों की तरह कंसल्टेंट्स के पीछे भाग रहे होते हैं. नहीं नहीं कंसल्टेंट हमें जॉब देंगे
या
कंसल्टेंट हमें जॉब देंगे. That's not how it works. You have to आप अपने जो colleagues है ना जो junior doctors है उनसे बात करो because they have
उनसे
been
पूछो
through
यार
the same process.
उन
Instead of running behind that ever elusive consultants who are very busy, first of all, they barely have time for themselves, let alone to figure out how to guide you. And a lot of them came at a very different time. जो आपके colleagues आए हैं they have gone through the same struggles and they are the ones who can tell you अच्छा HR में जाके इनसे बात करना और या ये consultant अच्छे हैं they can guide you better they might give you more opportunities so
या
talk to talk to the junior doctors, talk to the registrars, and don't just run behind the consultants. Talk to the HR.
Right.
I think that's also important, because they are obviously, we don't understand, but in the NHS the HR is all powerful. Like they
Very
are on
powerful.
the
Oh,
job. Consultants और हम सब छोटे छोटे हैं उनके पास सामने.
nah.
So
Job to वही दिलाएंगे. So yeah. Okay. So moving on. Tell me about the new things that you learned while working as a junior doctor in emergency medicine department, and apart from that, any problems you faced, like in general. Talk about these 3 months in emergency medicine.
So these 3 months in emergency medicine have been very exciting for me, because I am lucky enough to work in a city center hospital, which is
Yeah.
in one of the metropolitan cities of the UK. तो हमारे पास ना हर तरह का पेशेंट आता है. We will see every, जैसे आप जब प्लैब 2 के स्टेशंस करते हो, I found प्लैब 2 to be a very relevant exam for me in A&E, because every
Right.
possible scenario has been seen by me in real life. And the funny story was that I failed my Simman station because it was opioid poisoning, and D तक आपको समझ नहीं आ रहा होता उसके साथ हो क्या रहा है. I thought the Simman was broken. I'm like trying to, I'm like, hey, I'm looking at the guy and I'm like, so I did terribly in my Simman station. And the funny thing is now I see opioid poisonings day in and day out. So you get the minute you step into your department and you start seeing patients, that build up in the level of confidence is drastic. Like the doctor I was when I first entered to the doctor I am today is so different. Not because I have suddenly learned this, got this knowledge कि मुझे बहुत पढ़ा दिया या मुझे बहुत कुछ आता है, but because I understand the system more. So I think the biggest thing I've learned in these 3 months is understanding the system. और ये ना बहुत सारे लोग मुझे पहले बोलते थे system अलग है, system अलग है. I'm like कितना ही अलग होता होगा, but it is very different. You don't
It is very
realize
different.
it until you're actually
Hmm.
in it and you're like, oh shit, now I don't know अब किसको refer करना है. There are teams in place that you have never thought of. There is a safeguarding team. There are specialist nurses. You have chest pain nurses.
Hmm.
You have diabetes nurses. There is this plethora of multidisciplinary teams जो आपको सिर्फ words लगते हैं जब आप एग्जाम्स दे रहे होते हो. आपको सिर्फ लगता है हाँ ये बोलना है तो ये मार्क्स दे देंगे मुझे पास कर देंगे. But when you start working, you realize you actually work with these multidisciplinary teams, and it is quite daunting. As you mentioned, some of the problems that you face is you don't think of these issues. So जब आप consultants के पास discuss करने जाते हो कि मैंने ये patient देखा है, मुझे तो ठीक लग रहा है, घर भेज देते हैं. They're like, are you sure? Do you think they'll be safe at home? Is there a safeguarding concern?
Also, about this,
Yeah.
as you mentioned, basically, so this is there's another video where we compare acute medicine and emergency medicine. That's on Rupali's channel. So basically, हमने वहाँ से reference लिया है, as you mentioned when she said, yeah, continue.
Yeah. So there is another video on my channel as well. But what I was trying to say was there are all these issues that you don't think of क्योंकि यहाँ social security है. There is a network जो आपके probably आपके countries में, मेरे country में तो definitely नहीं था, but probably आपके
Hmm.
countries में भी नहीं होगा. And when you have these systems in place, you have to learn to think about them. तो जैसे बहुत सारे लोग आपको बोलेंगे कि don't enter training directly from overseas because the system is different. What they mean is not that you're going to be incompetent. You are still a smart
Hmm.
person. You know how to clerk the patients. But the problem becomes that there are systems in place, there are specialities, there are networks outside that you don't understand. क्योंकि आपको पता ही नहीं होता कि ये चीजें हैं. So that getting that non-training job sort of prepares you for it, to be a well-equipped doctor, not a better doctor, but a well-equipped doctor.
Hmm.
Something that I struggled with when I moved here was you're moving your entire life. Okay, you have to start from scratch. Now, I have always been an extrovert, so I will talk to anyone and everyone, but not everyone is the same. So, moving
Hmm.
to a different country, finding people, making a network of your own, settling in, क्योंकि आपको ना हजारों चीजें होती हैं पूछने के लिए कि यार बैंक अकाउंट कौन सा अच्छा है. We have a common senior who I would ask questions like, bro, a bank account charged me for something, and I'm like, I don't know what happened. So
Yeah.
there are these little things that you don't understand when you move to a new country, and you need people to guide you throughout the way. तो ये सारी चीजें आप struggle करते हो, which I think both Kekasha and I are trying to fill in that gap, to guide people on how to actually get here, settle in with legal things like PRPs, with getting like a driving license, finding a house. If you haven't, like, how would you talk to for hospital accommodation? Like all of these random things which you don't think about. आपको लगता है आपने एग्जाम दे दिया फिर आपका हो गया जॉब मिल गई अब चलो चलते हैं, but
बस सही है.
there is so much in between that you don't think of. जैसे मैं जब आई थी, there is a lot of pre-employment. So I'll give you an example. Pre-employment में आप occupational health की appointment लेते हो and your start date is probably like weeks and weeks away. So for 2 months you're just like अब मैं क्या करूँ?
अब मैं क्या करूँ?
अब मैं क्या करूँ? पैसे नहीं है, ना रहने की जगह, ना लोग पता है, अब क्या करूँ? A lot of people struggle in that time. So I think one of the reasons why I do what I do is to sort of make it easier for people to get here. And yeah, those are some of the things I've learned and some of the challenges I've faced.
Yeah. So I guess what we're just trying to say is India, या आप जिस भी country से move कर रहे हो और अब जब यहाँ आओगे तो you do realize कि बहुत सारे, it's not just a doctor who's looking after the patients, but it's a group of people. It's a group of nurses, palliative team होती है और ऐसे बहुत सारे लोग हैं, तो आपको वो चीज सीखना है, like to interact with people, exactly how Rupali said. And उसके अलावा the other thing is, अगर आपको job मिल गई है, if you're in that phase of your life, तो take this time to figure out कि आप कहाँ रहने वाले हो, your accommodation, your indemnity cover, because it is very important कि आप यहाँ पे आए हो तो you are safe, कि आप patients से interact करो. बहुत सारे लोग होते हैं जो आप पे accusations डालेंगे, because we are all aware कि people are not happy with the system as such, right? तो बहुत बहुत बड़ा burden वो आपके ऊपर भी डाल देंगे. They'll be like, तुमने मुझे टाइम पे नहीं देखा है, तुमने मुझे सही से नहीं देखा. So indemnity cover आपको उन सब चीजों से प्रोटेक्ट करेगा. So if you have time, figure all those things out, because job तो हो जाएगी, job आपको मिल गई है, अब ये तो हो ही जाएगा with time, but आपकी एक और लाइफ है जो आपको प्लान करनी है in a completely new country. So connection is very important. If you have seniors in your country, or if you have juniors in your country, or anyone that you know in the country, get in contact with them. Or talk to people. And I think Rupali says कि not everybody is willing to talk, but most people are. I mean, बहुत लोग बहुत helpful होते हैं. Like आप सड़क पे चल रहे होगे and they'll be like, oh, you look confused. Are you all right? So yeah, help करो और help ले लो जब when you need it, because that's how life is. That's what life is all about. So yeah, moving on.
Definitely agree. Like pass on the kindness. अगर आपकी कोई help कर रहा है ना, तो जब आप उस position में हो where you can help someone, it can be dumb questions. Like लोगों के ना, और मुझे भी थे, सबके होते हैं. There are like stupid questions. Answer it. It's fine. Everyone's nervous. Everyone's scared. They don't know what it's like. So it's fine.
Yeah.
Pass on the kindness. I think that would be my biggest advice.
Yeah. Moving on to the third question. Okay, so ये बहुत बहुत लोगों ने मुझसे पूछ रखा है, is the salary that you get as a junior doctor enough?
So this I love answering this question. The reason being why, because a lot of people move abroad कि हमें पैसे मिलेंगे, ठीक है? The priority is पैसे ही पैसा होगा. And I'm starting as an F2, which is the lowest position you start from. Essentially, if you've done internship in India or if you work for a year or so.
FY1, yeah.
Yeah, if you've done your FY1, if you've done an SHO level job, depending on whatever country you come from. So if you start as an F2, the base pay has increased to 37,000 for all F2 level people. A&E pays the most. And the reason being, not because we are very smart, but because we do really horrible hours. So every time from the minute you start working beyond 5 p.m., you get higher pay. तो अब फॉर इंस्टेंस अगर मुझे महीने का टैक्स कट कटा के 3,000 मिल रहा है, right? 3,000 is what I'm getting, out of which I automatically save 1.5 lakhs, because that's how much I used to earn in India. I did several jobs to earn that much, but that's how much I used to save anyway. So I have made it like a plan कि मैं उतना तो save करूंगी ही, because my savings should not go down coming from a different country. So that's how much I save. The rest is up to me. So I spend on average around 500 to 700 pounds, depending on how much I want to go out, how busy that month has been. In A&E, the problem is there will be some months where the rota is a bit lighter and some months when the rota is very heavy. So depending on that, you will have opportunities to go out, opportunities to travel. There are strikes. So if you get those days off, you might want to travel more. So all of these things basically are times when you do spend money. So again, groceries are something that takes up most of your uh, spending. Groceries and going out, that's it. बाकी अब आपके लाइफस्टाइल पे डिपेंड करता है. अगर आपको गुच्ची के बैग चाहिए, मर्सिडीज खरीदनी है किसी दिन, वगैरह
तो काम
वगैरह.
करना पड़ेगा ज्यादा.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to pick up things like locums and stuff, which I haven't done yet because I make more than enough to live in, and I don't know what to spend on at this point. So it depends on
Exactly. I'm going through the same thing. Yeah,
yeah,
for now, even for me, the aim is to spend the money that I'm earning on the right things, then to earn more. Because पहले वो figure out करते हैं, उसके बाद और पैसा कमाना होगा तो कमा लेंगे. So basically,
yeah,
that's my
exactly.
approach अभी के लिए.
बहुत सारे लोगों की प्रायोरिटीज अलग होती हैं. जो फैमिलीज के साथ आते हैं, for them it's not easy because I have colleagues who have little children who need daycare. So if you're coming in with a family, it is very hard to make ends meet, if especially if your partner's also in medicine, because childcare is so expensive. Like there are colleagues who pay like £1,000 per month just in childcare. तो सबकी पोजीशन अलग होती है, सबकी प्रायोरिटीज अलग होती है, सबकी स्पेंडिंग हैबिट्स अलग होती हैं. तो उस पे डिपेंड करता है. लाइक आई एम क्वाइट थ्रिफ्टी. आई गो बार्गेन हंटिंग एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. If you are not that kind of a person, if you like your luxuries, then perhaps the UK might not be the right place for you. Consider the US,
Right.
because you will earn more. If you have a
A
family,
lot more.
yeah. uh, if you have a family, then it's a little hard because the budgets are very tight. So you will have to manage your expenses well, but that does not mean you will not have a good life. You will have a
Right. I mean,
yeah, you will have a decent quality of life.
I have colleagues who are like managing it quite well
Exactly. Right.
with kids,
आपके
with one
ऊपर
or two
depend
kids, but
करता है.
it's just that.
Yeah.
हाँ, और आई गेस उस टाइम पे ज्यादा प्रेशर इस चीज का होता है कि आप यू हैव न्यूली मूव टू अ कंट्री, तो बहुत सारी चीजें आपको नहीं पता है, बहुत सारी चीजें जो गवर्नमेंट आपको ऑफर कर रही है बट आपको just पता ही नहीं कि ये सारी
हाँ.
चीजें हैं जो मुझे मिल सकती हैं. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, अगर दोनों पार्टनर्स वर्किंग है, सो एट दैट टाइम another problem is कि दोनों काम करें, से बच्चे का कौन ध्यान देगा, राइट? सो वो
Right.
सारी चीजें भी that adds on to the burden, to the tension. So I guess वो सारी
Right.
चीजें फिगर आउट
Like
करनी पड़ती
daycare and all of those expenses, nanny ke
हैं.
expenses, all of them, they sort
Yeah.
of add up. But it's not like you will not survive. It will be a little tight.
Mhm.
But people live, they thrive, they go on to become consultants. So ऐसा नहीं है. So you'll be fine.
Right. Uh-huh. Okay. So moving on to the fourth question, as you worked in as a CMO in India before, how was it different working in the same department, emergency medicine, in UK? And we have pretty much covered छोटे-मोटे aspects from this question, अपने बाकी questions में. So I think the follow-up question would be, would you recommend working in ED as the first NHS job in UK?
I think I would. I'll start with the second part of the question. I would
Okay.
100%, and ये मुझे भी सबने recommend किया था कि start in A&E. The reason being, आपके पास इससे ज़्यादा supportive department नहीं होगा. In terms of आप बड़ी टीम के साथ काम करते हो, there is a group of SHOs you work with, there is constant consultant cover. So at any point, there will be consultants around for you to discuss. तो आपको कुछ नहीं समझ आ रहा, आपको नहीं पता, या आपको नहीं पता रेफरल क्या करना है, या एंड पता है बहुत बारी consultants will themselves be like, oh, can you bring the patient into one of the rooms? I'll come and see them as well. Because sometimes they need to eyeball the patients. So that level of supervision and that level of guidance is very hard to find. एंड A&E में वैरायटीज हर तरह की है. अगर आपको पता नहीं आपको क्या करना है, ठीक है, आपको नहीं पता आपको मेडिसिन करना है, सर्जरी करना है, लॉट ऑफ अस कम इन विद दोस क्वेश्चंस. सो A&E इज अ गुड प्लेस टू स्टार्ट. Because when you pick up a patient, you can sort of figure out कि अगर वो chest pain है तो वो medicine का patient है. Like you kind of know that. If it's an abdominal pain, it's likely to be surgery. So when you start seeing these patients, you realize I absolutely hate seeing chest pain. I do not want to do medicine. Or I hate seeing abdominal pain. I have no interest in appendixes. I have no interest in gallbladders. So it's a good place to know what you want to do. You might actually end up hating seeing any patients at all. So you might want to go into something diagnostic like pathology or radiology or anything of that sort.
हम्म
तो आपको पूरी इतनी वैरायटी है कि आप सॉर्ट ऑफ डिसाइड कर सकते हो आपको क्या करना है.
राइट
And how it's different from back home is back home we got used to a certain level of authority after graduating because we were medical officers. um, you still have that level of independence. आपके ऊपर कोई नहीं खड़ा होता. There is no one standing over your head and asking you, oh इसको ये सवाल क्यों नहीं पूछा, or how have you examined or whatever. uh, but there is a safety net. If you're sending someone
हम्म
home, there is someone to ask, there's someone to consult. You can call up an orthopedic, you can call up a surgeon, you can call up the lovely AMU and medicine people, ask them, bro, I've got a patient. Can you please tell me what do you think? And most of the times they'll be very happy to give you a consult. तो एक चीज मैंने देखी है, there is no ego. कोई
हम्म
कोई इतनी बड़ी ईगो लेके नहीं घूम रहा कि how can you as an F2 or an SHO come and ask me this question. And
राइट
that I found so refreshing.
And I
uh,
think that's because of the system. I mean,
yeah,
the system gives you that confidence, और
yeah,
वो it gives you that transparency कि अगर आपको किसी न्यूरोलॉजिस्ट से भी बात करनी है या किसी भी स्पेशलिस्ट से बात करनी है तो आप बोल सकते हैं कि okay, I'm a junior doctor working in so and so
yeah,
department and I need you to review this patient,
yeah,
and they can't say no. जबकि हम when we were working as medical officers in India, तो हमें literally पूरी जान लगा के उनको कन्विंस करना पड़ता था कि नहीं ये तुम्हारा ही पेशेंट है, ये सर्जिकल पेशेंट ही है, ये मेडिसिन का पेशेंट नहीं है. सो यहाँ पर उतना स्ट्रगल नहीं करना पड़ता बिकॉज एज सुन एज इट्स ऑन द सिस्टम एंड यू मेंशन कि इट्स फॉर न्यूरो टू रिव्यू, इट्स फॉर सो एंड सो पर्सन टू रिव्यू, दे विल कम रिव्यू. वो फिर अपनी नोटिंग जो डालना डालें बट दे कांट रिफ्यूज टू सी अ पेशेंट.
yeah.
Exactly what we've talked about in another video. This is on Rupali's channel.
I think with AMU it's a bit easier because you're referring to a likely medicine specialty. With
Ah,
ANE we do get pushback sometimes where there is a medicine
mm,
versus surgical uh,
ah,
battle कि कहाँ जाएगा patient, what is more emergent. So we
mm.
consider it as what's going to kill the patient first. So that
Okay, it makes sense.
like it's a different way of thinking, but we do have to convince them sometimes कि can you please come and review the patient, or this is
Okay.
the thing, are you happy to discuss. Sometimes they'll just discuss it with you and they'll be like
Hmm.
over the call they'll be like, from everything you've told me and the patient history, I think it's likely to be urology more than general surgical or whatever they
Right.
think it is.
Right.
And that's fair
Hmm.
enough. There is a level of respect no matter where you are in the hospital, starting from the lowest to a registrar to a consultant. There is a level of respect given to you as a clinician
Mhm.
कि आपने जो देखा है वो आपको ये नहीं. जब मतलब मैं जब इंडिया में थी तो they would think we were idiots as interns and
Yeah,
like
कि
we
तुम्हें कुछ
didn't
नहीं
know
पता.
what we were doing as medical officers कि हमें तो पता ही नहीं था. we And the funniest thing is we were not different from their JR1s. The level of expertise and the knowledge was sort of same, and but we were still considered incompetent because the ego was what drove matters. So I think that
Yeah.
gets different. And other than that, I have seen a lot more complicated cases. जैसे इंडिया में क्या होता था, I would see the patient, and if it was really complicated, if they've got multiple comorbidities, we would refer to medicine. Right? You would
Mhm.
stabilize
Mhm.
the patient and then refer to the specialty. Here, I manage the patients a lot more. I manage more complicated cases. I learn to think. यहाँ ना आपको क्योंकि आप A&E में हो, आपको लॉजिकल रीजनिंग एंड थिंकिंग, क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग ज्यादा डेवलप करते हैं. क्योंकि यहाँ
Right.
आपके कंसल्टेंट्स आपको पूछते हैं व्हाट डू यू थिंक आर द डिफरेंशियल्स. This
Right.
was not how it worked in India. It was you are discussing with a junior resident. The junior resident probably has a similar background of knowledge, just more experience because they are only seeing surgical cases.
Hmm.
So there was no like consultant interaction happening where
Right.
they would ask you ki, what do you think or what would be the next step. For example, अगर आप किसी पेशेंट में स्ट्रोक सस्पेक्ट कर रहे हो या एसडीएच, सो subarachnoid hemorrhage or something you're suspecting. So if they've come in with a head injury and they've had the CT, but if it's been more than 24 hours or it's been more than the period of time, they would need a lumbar puncture. So they would be coming in
Mhm.
anyway. And your consultants, पता है इंडिया में क्या होता है, they will just give you a plan कि ये 20 इन्वेस्टिगेशन कराओ और ये तुम्हें करना है. There is no logical reasoning given to you कि हम क्यों करा रहे हैं, हमें क्या देखना.
Hmm.
Here they explain their thought process, and that thought process is what they want you to develop. So they want you to grow as a clinician rather than
Hmm.
you just being this uh, monkey who's going to do their 20 things to make their life easier. It's more of
Right.
I want you to grow as a clinician as well.
Hmm.
I think
और
that.
हम बहुत जल्दी यहाँ पे, sorry, continue.
Go ahead, yeah.
या और यहाँ पे एक और चीज है कि ना, ये जो 20 स्टेप्स जो हमें फॉलो करने बोले गए, हम बहुत जल्दी इसको इंटरलिंक करके चीजें कर पाते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर हम किसी में ऐसे सस्पेक्ट कर रहे हैं, हमने सीटी हेड किया एंड उसमें एक नीड नहीं दिखा, एक एन्यूरिज्म दिख गया, देन वी विल फॉलो दैट अप एज वेल, और उसको भी हम कहीं ना कहीं डिफरेंशियल्स में ले लेंगे. एंड आई गेस दैट इज द रीजन व्हाई हमें एनकरेज किया जाता है कि लाइक गो फॉर मेडिसिन जॉब्स, गो फॉर लाइक, दिस इज वन ऑफ द रीजंस व्हाई आई चोज अ मेडिसिन रोटेशनल पोस्ट, बिकॉज ईडी एक्यूट मेडिसिन में यू गेट टू बिकम द जैक ऑफ ऑल ट्रेड्स. लाइक आप इतने सारे डिफरेंशियल्स देख लेते हो कि आपको पता है कि अच्छा किस डायरेक्शन में सोचना है या क्या क्या रूल आउट करना है. सो दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट व्हेन यू आर स्पेशली स्टार्टिंग योर फर्स्ट जॉब, ताकि आपको पता चले कि अच्छा आपका इंटरेस्ट किस में है, और आप लाइक बेसिक डॉक्टर लेवल वाले काम कर पाओ ना, कि आप एक पेशेंट को मरने ना दो, वैसी वाली चीजें हैं. सो आई
And
गेस.
I think funnily enough, जैसे हमारे यहाँ ना orthopedics वाले जो होते थे, they will only see orthopedics. Here the line sort of blur between surgery and orthopedics, which is different from back home. So if you have, because they go through core surgical training as well, so they have that level of basic surgical expertise. Whereas, for instance, where I work, they would not suture. Orthos would not come and suture the wound. It'd
और
be like,
यहाँ हम
surgeon को बुलाओ suture करने के लिए.
हाँ, हम हमारा पेशेंट ही नहीं है,
Not a suture, just suture it.
हमने अपना काम कर दिया.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah, it was just like a funny thing that used to happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, so here, but if you are sure कि आपको medicine नहीं करना, आपको surgery ही करना है, then go for a surgical branch.
That being said, हमने इंडिया के बारे में ऐसा बहुत कुछ बोला, बट अगेन बहुत अच्छे लोग मिले हैं हमें, लाइक व्हाइल वी वर वर्किंग एज मेडिकल ऑफिसर, बहुत सपोर्टिव सीनियर्स थे, व्हिच इज द रीजन व्हाई वी आर हियर. इट्स जस्ट दैट एक सिस्टम नहीं है टू बैक इट अप, और यहाँ पे वी आर डूइंग बेसिकली वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द सिस्टम जो है इन सब चीजों को इंश्योर करने के लिए, लाइक द सिस्टम इंश्योरिंग कि हाँ वो ट्रांसपेरेंसी है, वो हायरार्की नहीं है व्हेन यू डिस्कसिंग details related to the patient.
Differences.
हाँ.
There are positives from what I learned as a CMO. I had incredible confidence. जो confidence आप में build होता है because there was so much pressure on me as the only treating physician there, that and the sheer number of patients I've seen. The biggest thing we bring from our countries is our experience. क्योंकि इतने पेशेंट यहाँ उन्होंने कभी देखे ही नहीं है. Like the fact
Exactly.
I was asked how many patients do you see in a shift in my interview, and I gave answers like, oh, I saw like 150 in 8 hours.
Yeah.
So it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, right. And coming to this thing, कि हमने इतने सारे पेशेंट्स देख लिए, which really builds our confidence. So ऐसा होता है ना कि जब मैं पहली बार यहाँ पे जॉब में आई थी, so they told me कि you get about an hour to clerk one patient, लेकिन उससे ज्यादा नहीं लेना है. And I'm like, 1 घंटा एक पेशेंट के लिए मैं दूं? नहीं नहीं नहीं, कुछ तो गड़बड़ है यहाँ पे. 1 घंटा एक पेशेंट, ये क्या है? And then you're telling me कि इससे ज्यादा नहीं मिल सकता है. I'm like, what the hell? So yeah, that changes कि आप एक पेशेंट को बहुत टाइम देते हो यहाँ पे. मतलब I know there's a long waiting list, बहुत सारे पेशेंट्स हैं, बट देन अगर आपके हाथ वो पेशेंट लगा है तो आप उसको सब कुछ करके उसको भेज रहे हो फिर.
The funny
So
thing,
that's nice.
the patients will still complain कि 5 साल पहले जो हमारे साथ आज से 40 मिनट तक बैठ कर डॉक्टर हमसे बातें करते थे, अब वो 10 मिनट में करते. Because
अब वो 10 मिनट कर रहे हैं.
you have 10 minutes to clerk, like your plabs, you have 10-15 minutes to clerk, document. Within that 1 hour you have to finish documenting referral, your discharge or whatever. So it is a lot quicker than what the patients are used to, but for us it's quite the luxury. So it's very nice
also,
to be able to practice medicine like this.
Right. And that's also because patients complain कर रहे हैं because हमारा उनके साथ interaction शायद 10 मिनट का है, but उसके बाद भी हम उसी patient के लिए काम कर रहे हैं, like हम system पे हैं. So basically this is because of the transition from paperwork to the online system, कि हम online ही बहुत कुछ कर रहे हैं, जो obviously patient या patient का relative नहीं देख सकता, but again we are working for the patient.
Yeah.
So वो एक problem है. Right. Okay. So we have covered this question. The fourth question is, tell me about the audits and how to do one in UK. या कैसे डिपार्टमेंट में होता है.
Every hospital, every trust has its audit department, which works in general for all the audits happening in the trust. So one of the easiest ways, because जहाँ हम government में काम कर रहे थे, वहाँ audits नहीं होते. The basic premise of an audit is you point out a flaw, and the reason being so that you can improve it. But where we come from, it's not encouraged to point out flaws. So it's very hard to do an audit in the first place. But if you don't have any experience, the audit department is who you should contact. And the funny story is, मैंने audit department को ढूंढा था अपने pre employment में, क्योंकि वो उसी office में बैठते थे, and they were so surprised to see a real person because nobody actually talks to them about it. So if you speak to him, he very kindly explained the whole process to me. I told him I was interested in these two departments. I was interested in emergency medicine. I was interested in radiology. He gave me the emails कि आप इनसे बात कर सकते हो. They are now, every department has an audit lead that is likely a consultant who is in charge of all the audits happening locally in that department. So that's the next person to contact. But there is a workaround. So sometimes if your department does not have a lot of ongoing audits, or if you want to look outside, so for instance, I was interested in radiology. I found consultants on LinkedIn to collaborate with, to see people. So I like to work in a niche, and I like to find people who work in that niche. So I found a lovely radiology consultant who I messaged and I'm like, can I do a taste a week, or can I work with you? And he very graciously agreed. I got so many positive responses that it became very hard to juggle. So I was like, I'm going to work with him. So it was at Clatterbridge, which is a cancer institute right next to the Royal. And we had a meeting, and we're now working on an audit. There is a lot of data collection, and you can
That's
sort of
nice.
merge it with research as well. So it depends on just knowing how to start and talking to people. As we mentioned before, there are ample opportunities, but एक बार आप बात करने लगते हो तो आपको पता चलता है कि क्या क्या है जो आप कर सकते हो. So that's how you start doing the audits, and once you're done with the data collection, you analyze it, कि what is going wrong. Once you figure out that this is the problem, so and so things are going wrong, you do an intervention. तो या तो आप लोगों को पढ़ाते हो, you give education कि ऐसे नहीं ऐसे होना चाहिए, like suppose we should be using like these sort of wipes to clean the ABG machines or whatever it is,
Yeah,
or
simple चीजें.
tubes and x-rays and whatever. So you do an intervention, you teach people, and then you re-audit. So that basically shows you कि आपने जो इंटरवेंशन किया उसका कुछ इफेक्ट हुआ या नहीं. तो आप देखते हो कि जो गलतियां पहले हो रही थी वो मेरे एजुकेशन के बाद अभी भी हो रही हैं या नहीं हो रही. So that's it. That's once you're done with that, and if you've made a positive change or even a negative change, you basically figure out if your audit had an impact. Mostly positive, I assure you. Present it. तो आप दो तरह के presentation कर सकते हो, या तो locally in your own department, because all of our departments have certain teaching constantly going out. Like we have weekly teaching every Wednesdays. I'm sure Kekasha has teachings going on as well.
Tuesdays.
Yeah, Tuesdays. So all of us, so teaching is a big part of our education and training. तो आप locally अपने department में कर सकते हो, or you can present it nationally at conferences. So if you're interested in internal medicine, look up an internal medicine conference and present there. And they always appreciate it. आपको कोई reject नहीं करेगा कि नहीं आप present नहीं कर सकते. So go for it. Don't hesitate. Go for it, and you'll be able to present your work, and that teaches you more. आपको जब आप अपनी चीजें प्रेजेंट करते हो, आपको फीडबैक मिलता है, and you learn from that feedback and you get better. That's how I've always thought of it, and basically that's how the audit process works. There's one thing I'd like to add. मेरे हिसाब से a better approach is कि अगर आपने नहीं किया है, it's okay. You can mention that you're interested in countries.
India में private hospitals में है जबकि.
Private
So
hospitals, right.
हाँ. So
If you have the
if you're really interested,
yeah, go for it.
so आप वहाँ पे जाके कर सकते हो. Was it Fortis hospital में, right?
बहुत सारे हॉस्पिटल्स में. You can do it at like local private hospitals as well, क्योंकि उनका सिस्टम यूके का सिस्टम मिमिक करता है. A lot of private hospitals and consultants as well are quite interested in taking up audits in private hospitals. It's just government में थोड़ा hard होता है. So if you get the opportunity to work, and if you don't have a bond, work in a private hospital, get all your audits done. You can, if you know the people, you can probably get a lot of things done. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So हमने fourth question cover कर लिया है. Yeah. So this is a question that I have for you. Like ये मेरा question है. Like I have seen you on Instagram. You're very active on Instagram. You're very active on YouTube. You're active everywhere, Rupali. So I just want to know how you're balancing YouTube with your new job, with life. So yeah.
For me, मेरे लिए ना, not much has changed. I used to be this person back home as well, and that was horrible.
Oh,
लाइक
I've seen
जब
that.
आप इंटर्नशिप में होते हो, जब आप हाउस जॉब कर रहे होते हो, जब आप मेडिकल ऑफिसर होते हो, तब आपके पास बिल्कुल टाइम नहीं होता. एंड आई हैव ऑलवेज बीन अ वेरी क्रिएटिव, वेरी आउटगोइंग पर्सन. The only thing that has changed is now I have time. So I have time
हाँ.
to pursue my interests. So that's the only reason why I look more active now. क्योंकि अब मेरे पास ना, पहले क्या होता था, I would do like 24-hour shifts and be dead because that's just how it worked. And like you had exams to give and things to do. But for now, with the exams, I still managed to find time because I've always wanted this. एक ये होता है, कुछ लोग ना आपके आउटलुक पे डिपेंड करता है. कुछ लोग जो आते हैं, they get a little, they're very close to their families. Leaving their families behind, leaving a support system behind takes a toll. So the first couple of months can be very hard जब आप settle in नहीं कर पाते. And you
Hmm.
sort of start regretting it because you don't give yourself enough time to make a network here. And this is something I always wanted. तो मेरे लिए ये था कि मुझे हमेशा से अपने लिए टाइम चाहिए था, मुझे हमेशा से कुछ अलग करने का वो था. तो दैट्स हाउ आई मेक माय
Right.
टाइम. आई डिसाइड कि चलो अब काम, जैसे मैंने पहले भी बोला, अब काम खत्म हो चुका है. नाउ दिस टाइम इज ऑल माइन. I will go out, I will do what I like, I will meet new people, I will write, I will
Hmm.
read, I will paint, I will do everything under the sun because I get to do it.
Right.
A lot of people
Hmm.
think of it as I have to do it. I like to think of it as I
Hmm.
get to do it.
That's so cool. That's a nice approach.
Yeah.
So do you have those days of CBA like when you're like, नहीं यार आज कुछ नहीं हो सकता? Or
Um,
wait, you're not that person, are you?
yeah, matlab, I have my lazy days. I have days where I'm like, आज कुछ मन नहीं कर रहा. So I stay inside. I read a book. I like to read, or I watch a
Okay.
movie, or I hang out with friends. Like I do take my downtime and I relax as well. It's not like I'm constantly doing things, which is something that really concerns my mother. She's like, आज घर पे बैठ जाओ. I'm like, नहीं बैठ.
Dude, chill.
The sun is out. इस देश में तो मुश्किल से तो धूप निकलती है.
यार सच
कहाँ
में
जाऊँ?
मुझे मुझे कभी नहीं लगा था कि यार इतना लाइक आई यूज्ड टू थिंक कि क्या हो गया धूप निकल गई तो बिग
हाँ,
डील
हाँ.
बट अब मुझे आई स्टार्टेड टू अप्रिशिएट दैट सनलाइट आई वाज लाइक अच्छा आज आज धूप निकली है लेट्स डू समथिंग
Exactly.
फन
All the memes that we saw have become a reality. We have become the memes now.
या
धूप
या
निकलती है
मैन
तो बाहर जाते हैं. Yeah, but
या
yeah. So that's what it
सो
is.
दैट्स नाइस
I get to do everything.
चलो क्वेश्चन तो सारे हो गए थैंक यू सो मच रूपाली फॉर इंटरेक्टिंग विद अस
Thank you for inviting.
फॉर स्पेंडिंग
It was very sweet of you. I will help you with the techie bits.
यस यस मैं बोलने ही वाली थी वो सो थैंक यू सो मच एंड कैसे एंड करते हैं रूपाली एंड इट फॉर मी
मैं तो
कम
बाय बोल
ऑन
देती हूँ. If you have any questions, feel free to hit us up. We're here to help you out. Even dumb questions are fine. Go for it.
नो क्वेश्चन इज बाय द वे
No
बिकॉज
question.
मैंने बहुत
There
पूछ
is
रखे
no
हैं
stupid question.
Yeah.
It's gonna
So
give us
cool.
a good time. Yeah.
Chalo, it was fun. Bye bye. And thank you so much.
See you in the
Bye,
next
people.
video. Bye.